Lou Merloni just got off the private jet yesterday. Lou, how are you?
Well, it's 80 degrees. Getting ready for a spring training big league Wago tonight, about 6:05 first pitch, Nesson. So I'm doing pretty good. Gonna head over to the park in a little bit right after this.
I know that you and I plowed through a bunch of stuff on Wednesday relative to the Red Sox. So you have now gotten back down to Florida. It is March 15th. What is left to be determined in spring training?
A whole bunch, unfortunately. It seems like with Ref Schneider's foot being down, and if they kind of feel that Rafaela is ready, that, I think that he will be on this team and playing center field on opening day, which I think is interesting because like today and then the last game, I was wondering when they were going to put Tyler O'Neill in right field because this guy won 2 Gold Gloves in left and hasn't played much of right. But if Rafaela is in center, then Jarren Duran has to be in left because he can't throw the baseball from right field. So that's kind of what you're looking at here today with O'Neill in right, Duran in left, and Rafaela in center. And, of course, the back end of the rotation and what that means for the bullpen, So it's not necessarily our best 5 arms going to be in this rotation. Like they may sit there and feel like they need Tanner Houck or Garrett Whitlock, in the bullpen. So that might open a door for a guy like Cooper Criswell or Winkowski. So who knows?
So, Lou, sometimes narratives or things I hear, especially when I'm not paying the closest of attention, and I don't want to insinuate that I haven't been paying the closest of attention in spring training, but it's possible. So, Vaughn Grissom is a guy that supposedly was like the brave shortstop of the future, but then maybe had some defensive issues. Now he's going to be on the right side potentially for the Red Sox, where you already have some defensive issues. What's the vibe? What's the buzz with him? Should I be concerned about him defensively, or is second base a different beast? He'll be fine. What's the buzz around Grissom?
Well, I think they obviously they really like him. I mean, he's still a young kid.
Yep.
So it's like when you trade for him, it's like, well, he's a big league second baseman. Well, he's actually a prospect who they think can handle second base because he's come up as a shortstop. But the work is going to come defensively. I think offensively he's going to be okay. I think he's got some pop. He's a big kid. He can swing it. He knows the zone pretty well. But it's how do I get him comfortable at second, a position he hasn't played much of. So that's where the injury comes into play. They can kind of hold the fort a little bit, I think, with Valdez and Reyes, but it's not ideal. Their intention was this guy being your second baseman. So however long it takes, I don't know if they have those answers, but I think he's got to get more comfortable. He looked a little like awkward, like just I haven't played here before, and that's why camp was going to be important. He's missing some valuable time.
Right. Lou, Jeff Passan said recently Triston Casas has a higher ceiling than Rafael Devers. True or false?
False. I don't know. False. I mean, Devers to me is just a different animal, and I like the kind of little adjustment he made with his hands. He's seeing the ball better. Like when I was down here earlier, there was 1, 2, maybe even 3 pitches per at bat that he just spit on and didn't swing at that he would have in the past. And I think if he doesn't get himself out with his over aggressiveness at times, I think Devers can be a 40 home run guy. I think Devers can hit 295. Like that's why we looked at last year and said it was a down year. Even though it was a good year for most people, because you just think he has more in him. That doesn't mean I don't like Casas, but I feel like Devers has got a higher ceiling.
This is a random question from a hit on the Rich Keefe show the other night where we went over this ESPN Top 100 or whatever it was, 2 Red Sox in there. It was Devers and Casas. Casas, is he the 65th best player in baseball? Feels high to me. Feels high.
That does. I think most people would say like that's kind of, I agree, that's where it fits. But it's like any kind of list, when you start saying he's a top 10, then you start rattling off guys.
Right.
Like, oh, boy, maybe he's top 20. Because who's he better? Is he better than this? Is he better than this?
Right.
Is he better than this? So when you're talking about players and pitchers included, and the random closers included, I think that's high. But if you're in the top 100, you're a pretty good player. But that seems high at the top of my head.
Okay.
And that's the Keefe way of doing the list, by the way. Say that someone's a top 10 and then challenge it, and then he's got 25
And then you list it out. And and maybe it's the upside of Casas this year, too, because I think the list was one of those weird ones, kind of like the NFL Network. It's not just based on last year, but it's also based kind of on next year, and you're kind of projecting, and maybe that's where he'll end up, and that's probably a good thing.
You know what? And it's kind of like the new age. Everybody rushes to things. Like it's even like with these extensions. Like if you don't get it done within the first year or two, like these young kids, and for me, I might have a touch of old school in me in that you had a good rookie year. I'd like to see you have a good second year.
Right.
I'd like to see the league adjust to you and kind of what you do. And then, to be honest with you, back in the day, like when I was playing, it was you're really not a proven big leaguer until you get to arbitration, and that's after 3 seasons.
Right.
So I think I just want to see it. Would I be shocked if he hits 30, 35 home runs this year? Absolutely not. OPS close to over 900? Absolutely not. But I think I'd like to see it first.
Agreed, because you know what scares me? When you go to the roster and you look and it says Triston Casas and then Bobby Dahlbeck. And a couple of years ago, I had Will Fleming convincing me that Bobby Dahlbeck was going to be a 30-home run guy, and I should be excited about Bobby Dahlbeck, and he, wasn't and isn't the next big thing. And I have that same fear. For me, it's back to Phil Plantier. It's that one August and September when he hit like 20 bombs, and I fell in love with him. And, well, we all know.
Here's the difference, though, Andy. Like, Bobby Dahlbeck there's a lot of swing and miss. He doesn't control the zone.
Right.
He chases. He misses pitches in the zone. Like Triston, his knowledge of the zone, like he swings at strikes. He does strike out because he trusts his eye and he gets deep in counts. But just the whole approach at the plate is completely different level. So that's where the belief system comes in on him, I think.
Professional hitter. Hey, Lou, if Grissom isn't ready for opening day, tell me a little bit about Enmanuel Valdez. What can be expected? Yeah.
He can hit. That's the thing. He had some impressive at-bats against lefties here recently as well. So he can hit. The question has always been defense. And, last year, I just think he had a real bad year defensively, and he kind of came in with that reputation, and it proved correct. A lot of work this offseason trying to simplify some things like glove placement. It's such detailed, right? Like receiving the baseball with your hands and just kind of really focusing on the process and mechanics of it. And I think he has looked better. I just don't think you take a subpar defensive player and in one offseason turn him into a great one. So the question is, can he be good enough to where, or swing the bat good enough to kind of deal with, the play or two made here that maybe should be but wasn't.
Grissom injury, Giolito injury, like these various things that have popped up through spring training. Do you feel better or worse about the Boston Red Sox right now?
I don't feel better. Guys are hurt and Montgomery is still unsigned, whatever. But I don't feel better. And another one is I'm keeping a very close eye on Chris Martin. Everybody just sort of assuming that their bullpen is outstanding and the strength of their team. Well, Martin hasn't thrown yet, and he had a little tweak in his groin. He's going to start throwing again, and he's the best reliever in baseball, one of them last year. And Jansen's going tonight. His first appearance. You got messes in the rotation, so now guys that were planned to be in the bullpen have to be bumped up to the rotation, which weakens a bullpen. It's just Chris Martin's another one I'm really got to keep an eye on, I think, here next week or two.
Hey, Lou, I'm looking at the early schedule. I know you're on that West Coast trip. You got Seattle, you got the A's, you got the Angels. Seattle's pretty good. The A's are awful. And then the Angels are kind of somewhere in between. Would you sign up for a 500 road trip out of the chute? And how important is the start of the season for this team, given that expectations are just so low?
Yeah, I think it's real important to come back here, like you said, 500. Seattle's got a really good pitching staff. I think they got a really good team. They could surprise some people because they just didn't swing it the first half of the year. Like you said, Oakland is what it is. LA, same thing. So I never liked playing bad baseball teams in April. And maybe you're one of them as well, but Oakland and Anaheim are, because when you come out of camp, if you're healthy, everybody thinks you can win. Reality doesn't set in until about June, then you suck, or July. You know what I mean? So you're going to play those teams, and it's they should sweep Oakland. It's no, you shouldn't. You're not that good. You're not good enough to say you should sweep anybody. You should take 2 out of 3 from Oakland. You should take 2 out of 3, or whatever from Anaheim. Oh, I think they got 4 in Anaheim. I'm not sure.
It's 3.
Yeah, and then kind of probably drop 2 out of 3 to Seattle. That's how it should probably play out.
Lou, thanks for the time, friend. We appreciate it. And you have the, the Rising Stars game tomorrow. What are they calling that thing?
Something about breakout stars, I think it's called.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a 1 o'clock way to go.
I got
That's a good one.
And
all the Sox prospects playing it.
There it is.
Nice.
And then dinner at the Applebee's near the regional airport in Fort Myers at 6.
Yeah. You're down here long enough, you can find the nice spots.
Yeah,
nice spots
you know where to go. You know where the good KFC is where that's there.
Exactly.
Lou, thanks, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.